Imagine being in a locker room, getting ready for your sport that you're in, and all of a sudden your entire team is surrounding you, getting ready to physically harm you, just for a tradition. Hazing is awful. It is a terrible thing. It's an epidemic going on in this country and in our schools. I'm sure all of us have been a part of a team, whether it's speech or dance or even football or soccer. Hazing is the act of initiating someone into your sport or into your club. And I'm going to be telling you about how terrible it is and how it's bad in the schooling systems in the United States. First, I'll be talking about the actual problem of hazing, and second, I will be talking about a possible solution. So first off, with the definition of hazing is when you initiate someone into your club or your association, which I got from Babson College, updated 2012. And some of the scandals that has happened is a soccer player in Maine in 2008. He was physically harmed by his entire team, and his two coaches just stood there and watched. And after they went up to him and said, "Welcome to the team," after he was sodomized, which I found from the CBS Chicago, published November 26, 2012. Now just think of your two coaches after you are being traumatized by school members, just so you could be a part of a clique or a group. And another incident that this happened is Scott Krug. He was in an MIT in Massachusetts, and he was getting accepted into a fraternity. And their initiation or hazing, that was him drinking a cumbersome amount of alcohol and him dying, which I got from Linda Starr, published Education World, November 4th, 2012. And some of the stats that I got is recent in 2008, which for the stats, 1.5 million high school students have been hazed. And 47% of them that go to college, they have already been hazed as well. In college, 55% of people, that's over half, have been hazed to be into a group. And 9 out of 10 of those students, of the 55%, they don't even realize what has actually happened to them. And yes, it is a huge problem because it creates trauma. From the time we've been starting to record hazing deaths, 163 students have been killed. 163 unnecessary deaths, which I got from hazingprevention.org, updated 2012. And the system right now, it's not working. There's 1.5 million high school students that are still being physically harmed, and that is way too much. Now that we looked at the problem of hazing, I can look further into a solution. The law right now states that each school board should individually check and make their own hazing policies, which I got from stophazing.org, and it's policy 127.465, updated 2012. And as of right now, it's not working nearly enough because still 1.5 million high school students are still being hazed. And a way to fix this, I would make the federal government make a guideline to make school boards a lot more strict on this subject. The school board would have to add more counselors, and if in any single case, or even like a hint that students are being hazed, they would have to interview all of the coaches to that sport and all of the students in that sport if there is an act that happens. I would also have fines, because monetary loss is something that stops a lot of people from doing bad things. But with hazing right now, one of the worst things that can happen for coaches, that's jail time, and that's very bad. But for students depending on the case, all that's going to happen is suspension or expulsion. And so far, that is not far enough for them. So if they had a monetary loss, they would be a lot less likely to be hazing people because they're taking away their money. And so with a stricter line, it'd be really easier to actually make up this whole ordeal and how to envelop it into our schooling systems, because all you're doing is you're making a very strict policy on how it's going to work. And with a stricter policy, it's not going to change a lot in the school, but it is going to help stop the problem. Because even if just like a fraction of the 1.5 million students in high school that are going to be hazed is just like dropped down by like 200,000, that's still 200,000 children or students that are not being hazed, not being traumatized in high school. And it helps because those students, they're not being hazed, they're not being traumatized. So first, we looked at the problem, which is hazing. And hazing is harming the students of colleges and high schools. The solution is a very viable solution because we're just adding on and we're making stricter and more evident guidelines. And so with hazing being such a huge problem in this country, and could you imagine just being in a locker room just filled with people just trying to harm you just so you can be initiated into a team?